So Tom Mancini wrote the original treatment, Blood Buddies, which is vastly different from the script that you ended up shooting. What were some of the things that you changed from the original?
Yeah, he wrote an original screenplay, and I was the first. Thank you. I was the first writer-director on it. I couldn't solve it. I left it, and I went and I did Fatal Beauty, and Joe Rubin came in, and I think it was Joe Rubin, and he did The Stepfather. He spent a year on it, and he couldn't do it. What was going on was there was no bad guy. There was no. If you're writing a script, you need conflict. It really helps if there's a good guy and a bad guy, even if they're totally twisted. But you got to have you have to have opposing forces. And so I came back on it, and the reason I came back is that I realized that that was the problem, and I wanted to make a really scary movie. And it was a little kids. The first draft, the original that Don Mancini had written was a little kids movie, adolescents. And I came up with the idea of Charles Lee Ray. And when I thought about how much fun I could have putting a suicidal serial murderer into the body of a doll, of an animatronic doll, I couldn't wait to sit down and write it, because that was delicious.
Okay, so you created the character of Chucky, basically. You're saying you Charles Lee Ray, and then basically created the character of Chucky from that. Originally, because in Blood Buddies, it was originally the doll's named Buddy, and it was entirely different. It was based on basically what happened in the original. It was his id that was acting out. The kid's id was acting out through the doll.
Right.
So it was an entirely separate character.
This was you're all too young to remember, but this was a moment in time when you first had your animatronic dolls, and the biggest doll at that moment in time was My Buddy. Does anybody remember My Buddy?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that's what made me want to do it too, and you could tell that it was all of a sudden they had an animatronic chip in the damn thing, and they could start talking back to you. You never knew what they were going to say anyway. And that opened the door. And I was in love with Trilogy of Terror by Dan Curtis, TV movie, 1968. One of the episodes, Prey, Karen Black. Richard Matheson wrote it. And I saw that, and it's going to sound dumb now, but this is before Steadicams. Steadicams really came in big with The Shining. But before Steadicams, what Dan Curtis did was he had this little doll about 18 inches, not animated, not articulated at all, but it chased Karen Black around the apartment with a spear, and it was terrifying. And what he did was he put a 16mm camera and a pair of roller skates, and he chased Karen Black around at sort of ankle level, and it worked like a son of a bitch visually. And so that was the visual thing that I wanted to do that drove me towards writing Child's Play. And I needed to do that. I knew that whenever I had the doll pursuing you with a nice butcher blade, that no matter even if the doll didn't work, I could always cut to the doll's face, and then I could cut to his point of view. And you saw that all in the third act when he's chasing the mother and little Andy around through the apartment. And that stuff, it worked for Dan Curtis and it worked for me.
During that winter, it was 24 degrees. Did that cause any problems with the cast or the equipment?
Yeah, we had to have multiple cameras, and we kept the cameras in a truck. And then as they froze up as we were shooting, we'd change them off. Literally, the cameras were freezing up, the oil in the cameras. And it was just brutal, but it was real.
And that was back in the day, of course, when it was shot on 35mm, and they were
We were
shooting with old school Panasonics.
You got to remember, none of what you just saw was CGI. There's no CGI in that. That's all in camera. And nobody had ever tried anything that daring. That involved the story. So I could go on for an hour about that, but no CGI there.
Well, that actually kind of brings us to our next question. What were some of the difficulties with the first animatronics? I know that you actually had to bring in other solutions such as Ed Gale and other things. What were some of the problems you had with shooting the animatronics?
Okay, none of this goes to any of the people I worked with. They were all wonderful, they were all geniuses, because we were inventing it as we went. And Kevin Yeager was just terrific. And the guys that ran all the puppeteers. But if you're trying to do something that's fantasy like that, in order for the audience to go with it, the willing suspension of disbelief, the famous willing suspension of disbelief, you have to have those shots to say, hey, look, Mom, no wires. So you see Chucky moving, and there are no wires. So like in the third act, at the very end, Karen's shooting the doll. There's a camera up here over Karen and Andy, and there's the doll down there. And it's on the floor, and it's talking, and its arms are moving, and its head, it's burnt Chucky. But you see the doll's articulated, it's alive, and there are no wires. Well, what there was the set was 4 feet off the floor. There was a hole drilled behind Chucky. There were wires coming up into the doll, and there were 8 to 10 guys down there, working the doll. So, but you have to have those moments. You can't play it all in here and have the audience buy it. And I had Ed Gale as a little person. I overbuilt sets, and I had forced perspectives. So it was put together, and I cut, what didn't work, I cut around, and what did, I kept. But that's how I did it.
You want to talk about 20 minutes of dailies? Yeah, recently, Tom discovered that he had possession of the dailies that they'd shot, and there's additional 20 minutes of footage in those dailies. So Tom, what did you actually cut out outside of some of the things that didn't work? Was there anything specific that you cut out?
Yeah, I had Ed Gale in the Voodoo Doctor, in that house. I had him in the kitchen on the counter, berating the Voodoo Doctor before they ran into the living room, and he broke up the figurine. And I had Ed Gale doing it on an overbuilt set, but Ed Gale was moving too much. You could tell it wasn't the puppet any longer. So that was one. And what I did is I cut into that in the living room where he breaks his leg. Oh, yeah. The one who really got hurt in the film was, Catherine Hicks, because she did beautiful. We had some great scenes where she was trying to save her son, and I eventually had to cut him because it was a teen audience, and you could feel that all they wanted was Chucky out there with a butcher knife. But she gave a great performance.
Now, has there ever been thought to doing a director's cut, like bringing back some of that footage and, putting it into?
No, I'm very happy to say I am very happy with the cut of Child's Play. I did it and I approve it. But the footage that isn't in there is interesting, technically. You can see the problems.
I think so. At this point in your career as a director, when this film came out, it was a massive success. Was the studio expecting that? And what was your reaction to that opening weekend? Because it certainly gained ground and it's become a cultural phenomenon.
Gosh. I knew it was a massive hit from the first time I previewed it. The film, large chunks of the film, maybe half the film worked from the first rough cut. First time I showed it to an audience. And we'll work with the visual sequences, i.e., Chucky trying to kill you. And so I cut around that. What was lost was, was some of a mother trying to save her son. And that's a situation that I like a lot, which is where nobody believes you. And that you can do something that's fantasy or that's beyond possibilities if you have if somebody in the movie says, I don't believe that, that sort of forgives you too. Then you're more likely to say, well, maybe this is really happening. Somebody's asked the same question. Anyway.
watched this, for me as a journalist, which is interesting, I can remember seeing this film in the theater when it initially ran, and it was, so I'm going to date myself. No, and it was terrifying, but to see, kind of for me, the franchise kind of lost me over time. As it did with Nightmare on Elm Street, for instance, where Freddy went from being actually very terrifying creation to a pop culture, snarky, comedic presence, which is certainly what happened with Child's Play. And to go back, and I think probably everybody here can agree, to go back this many years and watch this film now, that doll is still terrifying as fuck. So I really want to thank you for that.
Thank you, everybody. Terror, suspense, horror, it's really, really difficult to bring on, because you have to have, the audience has to go with it, they have to believe it, and they also have to care about somebody or several people in the movie to really make it work. And this, because it's so crazy, a killer doll, it's amazing, but it's visual set. But the best visual set piece I ever did is when she's tried to save her son at the police station. She walks into the kitchen, she goes to throw the good guy box away, and the batteries fall out. Okay? That's the beginning of a visual set piece. That runs 8.5 minutes, because it takes her into the living room, the doll doing the 180, want to play with me, dropping the doll under the couch, coming out, threatening to throw it into the fireplace. It finally comes alive. It goes for her throat. She throws it. Then she chases it down the entirety of the apartment building. That's 8.5 minutes. That's why I did the film, and that's what always worked about the film. Those set pieces. Him in the car, too, where he gets strangled from behind, and the car flips over. Anyway. And let me tell you, if they hadn't done the sequels, and if Dan Mancini hadn't done the sequels, it wouldn't be the huge thing it is today. And I'll say something else. I did everything I could to stop them from doing sequels. I tried to kill Chucky at the end. Look what I did to him. I burned him. I blew his arm off. I ripped his head off. I shot his heart out. Was there any more I could have done? And they're now in their 8th sequel. Thank you all very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tom. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you to the festival, too. Jack. Yes.
Thanks, guys, everybody, for joining us today.